Hi, this is Flora Duffy, and you're listening to the MX Endurance Podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of the MX Endurance Podcast, where we look at everything that's been happening in the world of endurance sports. My name is Tim Ford, and I'm joined by none other than the penultimate legend of the sexy shepherdess, sexiest voice in triathlon himself, James Bale, mate. Welcome back. How you going?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm, as you can see, and as we've been discussing, I'm not in a car this week. I have actually, I've made it to prison. Just me in my little single room and my bed behind me.
Where's the disco ball?
They won't let me have one in here. They took it off me. You know, could be used as a weapon.
That's why you got the
how are you
token
doing?
map behind you. Is that map? Is that got the hole behind it? So you've actually been carving the hole through
Yeah,
the
exactly.
wall.
That's
the post.
that's my tunnel out of here, mate. Crawling through shit and find myself to a beach somewhere. How are you, bro?
Yeah, I'll be good. This time in 2 weeks. Oh, hang on, a week. Yeah, not next time we record. The time after, I think I'll be good because I'll be back from Poland. That trip is I'm looking at the precipice of what I know is going to be an absolutely chaotic week, and I'm a bit annoyed because it means when we were sort of planning the camp, the plan was always for me to go to the Collins Cup, see that, try to race part of, maybe the world champs or whatever thing, do some, then go to this event. And just the state of Europe at the moment, I don't know if you've been watching social media this week, but like Sky Monch's bike went missing, and speaking with Flora, I don't know if we talked about it in the episode, but like there's all this fear, her bike didn't go to Mont Tremblant. So that, it literally just got to the point where I was like, it's too hard. I can't make it work. So I'm going all the way to Europe. I'm going to be in the air when the Collins Cup happening, and I don't actually get to go and watch it. So I'm a bit pissed off about this.
Yeah, well,
honest,
I think we mentioned it last week, didn't we? But genuinely, right now, I would not fly anywhere with my bike. There's just too many horror stories going on, and too many airlines are cancelling flights and having staffing issues. And it's not an environment you want to put. Flying with a bike is stressful. We've done it. We know it. We know it's stressful. I've seen my bike come careering down the departure ramp at Las Vegas Airport and land on the floor. I've had those moments, but adding that extra stress of wondering whether it's even going to be there, nah, man, it ain't for me. Especially if you're doing connecting flights, and those connecting flights might get cancelled. Nah, dude.
Exactly. Nah, it's this trip has been. I was chatting with Macca because I think he's actually in the air at the moment, and he was like getting quite anxious about it. And he goes, I said, mate, this trip, it's been so hard to book. Like again, and he's like, I'm glad I'm not the only one who's stressed about this trip. Like there is this. Again, like I said, I'll be good when I'm back in Australia after having completed this. I mean, again, the camp that we're doing is going to be excellent. It's a group of 20 junior athletes from a range of sports who are future Olympians and pro athletes. I really enjoy that part of my job, but that anxiety of trying to organize an event halfway around the world and knowing that it's literally about to happen it's extreme. So we're running on fumes for the next week and a half. Next week's episode is going to be, we don't know what it is going to be yet, but it'll be something. But I'm sure it'll be dealing with the Collins Cup. But before we get to that, James Bale, this podcast is the official podcast of MX Endurance, the world's premier endurance sports community, created by four-time world champion Chris McCormack. Jimbo, what's something that you like about the aforementioned MX Endurance?
I miss the conversations, mate. I've said it a few times before, but there was, not sure if we were going to mention it in the podcast this week already, but there was that I spent some time reading and absorbing that post. I think you put it up there about the pro athlete that went and competed in the age group only race. Did you put that on the group?
No, that was Sean Green. I was actually just reading that before we hit record. I was looking at some of the comments on that.
That piqued my interest a little bit this morning. I spent some time when I was going about my business this morning, reading the comments and the story on that. And what's your take on that, mate? What's your stance on a pro athlete going and competing in an age group only race?
I mean, the fact that I'd never heard of this pro athlete sort of speaks volumes about the sort of pro athlete they like. Again, it's like we're not. It's not like we're talking about the Norwegians going on an age group race and winning by an hour. I'm sure that the guy's a great athlete, but I don't care, to be honest. Like, no. I mean, again, what's he deprived an age group of saying that they're a 70.3 champions? Like, oh yeah, or an Ironman champion? I don't care. I mean, for me personally, like I race for results. It's funny, the article we talked about last week around cycling categories for triathlon. So I had one of my weekly physio appointments this week, my physio Sweeney, and I talked about it. I was like, mate, I read this article. I actually think it's, and we literally ended up arguing about it for like an hour. And I'm like, I don't understand. I don't understand. Well, I think we're on the same page, but you like, and I'm like, fucking hell, mate. Like, just stop. You're killing me right now. Like, I don't want to talk about this anymore. I spoke about it for 20 minutes on a podcast. I've spoken it for another hour and a half now. Can we just do the physio and let me go? Because I've got to get on with my day. But that Ironman Cork, mate, has had so much drama come out of it. I only just saw this age group winner, but then I don't know if you've been following the female winner. Again, I'm sorry, Svenja. I can't pronounce it. Svenja Thojs. I'm not even going to try. I think I should look it up. Who won the race, later got disqualified for outside assistance. And if that's not sort of a bit whatever, then there's been a another podcast, Pro Tri News, which is Mark Matthews, Talbot Cox, Kyle Glass, and Patrick Lameau. And then they rotate in the hosts. They put up some stuff on their social media where another pro had sort of given them, I guess, like the inside information. And then there's been a whole reaction to what they posted because it wasn't unsubstantiated. I'm like, fucking hell, the furor surrounding an Ironman in Ireland is like
everyone
seems
loves a
like
bit of drama. What was the outside assistant she got disqualified for? Do you know?
Well, I think that's the problem is nobody seems to know exactly what happened, and a lot of people got angry with Pro Tri News for sort of suggesting without the info, because they said, oh, this is what we've been told, that she was drafting on the bike. She was smacking cups out of the hands so that the person behind her couldn't get water, and then got disqualified for outside assistance. And people were angry because they were saying that's like unsubstantiated or they don't have the evidence to back it up. I'm like, again, it's a podcast, guys. Give them a break. It's not like we're not talking about the BBC here who's got, a team of reporters. We're talking about four fans of triathlon who do a podcast to try to, help.
Yeah, cool. Whatever, like chat around it. I can't see someone smacking the cups out of the hands of people. I can't see that being like, that would be a really dick move, wouldn't it? Do you know what I mean?
I think the thing I found a bit more like, I guess you'd say, depressing about the whole thing, and I'm probably going to get a bit of shit for this, but it's like, do we have nothing better to be talking about in the sport when people are getting the shits because a podcast posted what another pro, like, let's get some fucking perspective here. Honestly, like there's the Collins Cup happening this weekend. Like who cares? Okay, whatever happened, the athlete got disqualified. I understand, but to get the shits because a podcast was like just spreading what they heard, like fucking get some perspective. There's bigger things to be worrying about than like the standard to which we hold the podcast media of triathlon. Like it's not like this came out on the New York Times or anything. I just find it. It's like, we do our best to report it. We literally, this isn't something we're paid to do. And I'm sure they're not paid to do either. And it's like, we do our best. And sometimes we cop shit because it's like, oh, you haven't done it good enough. You haven't gone thoroughly enough. It's like, mate, fucking hell. Like, just be grateful we talk about this.
Do you think there's an air of toxicity in the triathlon landscape at the moment, mate?
Yes.
I'm finding
big time.
it. I'm finding
fucking
it.
oath, mate.
It's driving me away from driving some of my enthusiasm out of the sport a little bit. I've got to tell you.
No, I feel it. And but we've said this a lot for a long time, mate, that there always seems to be this, I always find it weird that there's either like what we try to do and like other, like Pro Tri News, I Am Talk, like this, but it's either boring or it has to be hot takes and kind of mean. And I never understand why there can't just be like a spectrum, because I find that there's like, people it's like there's boring triathlon coverage or there's mean triathlon coverage. And I don't understand why they can't just be like, funny. I don't know. I get. It's always something I find. It's there is something quite. Maybe toxic is the right word, but I'm sure they're not listeners of this podcast, mate, because we obviously have the best listeners out there, and we only get love, except when sometimes people get cranky for us. I'll be honest, I don't think we've had any people get angry about us talking about Lionel for a while, which is a pleasant change. But you know what, mate? We've gone off. We have a big episode this week. There's a lot to talk about. I sat down this week with one of the greatest female triathletes around at the moment, Flora Duffy, for an interview that we've been trying to line up for.
I wonder how you did. I'm intrigued as to how this interview went. I haven't heard it, just for any listeners out there. I haven't heard it, so I'm going to be listening to it the first time when this podcast is released. So I wonder how Mr. Ford did.
I'll tell you a story. So I lined up the interview. Flora's husband, Dan, sort of helped me. So I emailed Flora, then he got it because he's a manager. And so I'd lined this up, 3 weeks ago. We put the calendar in, and then was thinking about it over the week. I was like, shit, she's going to Slovakia now for the Collins Cup. I wonder what. And then I was looking and like I saw Sky had already head there, and I knew Christian was already down there. Shit, is she in? Has her going to the Collins Cup suddenly changed things? Am I going to be sitting on this interview and she's just not going to show up? Like, so I'm like, fuck. Well, if I don't hear anything, I'm assuming it's happening. So I send the link, and we open up the for people. I use Zoom for the interview because again, it was easier. And there's her husband Dan, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh no. He's like, hey mate, like expecting him to be like, hey mate, sorry, there's this issue. And so we're having a bit of a chat. He's like, you weren't expecting to see me, were you, Tim? I'm like, nah, mate. He's like, don't worry, she's coming. I was like, oh, thank God, because I was so worried that she wasn't going to show up. I had a blast. She's an incredible athlete, amazing person. I had a really good time chatting with her. So that'll come later. But let's get into the news this week, mate, because there's plenty to talk about. And the first thing happened again, minutes. I swear to God, minutes after last week's episode came out. I know, man.
It was the curse, wasn't it? I almost messaged you, but then I couldn't be asked to even type the words, the fucking curse. Do you know what I mean? I was dispatched my phone and went and got on with my day.
You know, there's that picture of Captain Kirk doing the Khan from Wrath of Khan. I always use that and like change the word. I think it should just be like podcast. But the news, obviously, we got this summary from Jonathan Turner at Tri 24/7, and that is shocking Frodeno update. Jan Frodeno has announced that he's out of the Ironman World Championships this season, and 2023 will be his last year in the sport at a competitive level. The dramatic news broke on Friday, mere minutes after the MX Endurance podcast came out in an Instagram post. I swear to God, he was sitting there going, have they brought it out? Have they brought it out? Have they brought it out? Hit publish. Not really. I know that's not what he... But anyway, after what has been a hugely frustrating spell for the three-time Kona winner, it means we'll never see the German take on current Ironman world champion Christian Blumenfeld or reigning 70.3 world champion Gustav Iden at Kona, with the two Norwegians focusing on the Paris 2024 Olympics from next year onwards. The two key updates were, of course, this puts an end to my Kona dream for 2022, and it's given me a stop to what has been a very, very tricky few months and a chance to reset, start, and plan for what I think will be my final 14 months in the sport. From Frodeno, in his own words, he said, I came down on the bike. I crashed a few weeks ago. Bike crashes are part of being on the bike, I guess, if you spend enough time there. But this one, after a while, turned bad. It's always tricky trying to heal a wound and maintain a training load of around 35 hours a week, but unfortunately it turned into a critical point as my surgeon here, Casper in Germany, decided that all the indications and scans showed enough reason to open up, and sure enough, the tissue around my trochanter, my hip region, had gotten infected. Of course, this puts an end to my Kona. It's given me a stop to the tricky thing I said before. I'm very much still burning, still passionate, still loving it too much, and I don't think I'm the next old guy who can't find the step to jump off. I actually still truly love the game, and Roth has shown me that my performance can still be up there, and I'd like to do it in a nice way. I'd like to train. I'd like to stand there at full potential, and there's just been too many rocks in the road. I'm going to take some time off, recover properly from this, see how the surgeries go, and then come and recharge with and around my family and get settled into new home in Andorra. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of things I'm looking forward to exploring, and the final chapter in the sporting career is the positive that I take from this. Mate.
Yeah, it's a real shame. I saw this almost immediately after we'd published and messaged you. You were asleep, I think. Obviously, having a bike crash and a wound that's infected, there is very little he can do about that other than focus on it and make sure it's taken care of, healed and recovered in the right way. So, that timeline is what it is. So the Kona, not being able to race Kona is a secondary to all of that. It's really disappointing. As the article says, it may be that we never see him race Christian Blumenfeld or Gustav Iden in Kona because they're going to be focusing on Paris from next year onwards. But a little bit of me, just a little bit of me, thinks that maybe they might come and race Kona as well next year. I think, if anything, that those two have proven to us is that they are capable of stepping between the lines and, balancing the two. So there's a chance we might, but I think that is yet to come. Triathlon does appear to be just a never-ending series of disappointing news at the moment.
It does, doesn't it?
I hope that we don't see this being a sort of I love Sebastian Kine, but I don't want to see it like he's done, where he's having sort of a jolly year. I want to see Frodeno have, all right, if you're retiring at the end of next year, mate, cool, but go at it. go at it big and see what you can do, because I want to see him go out hot and not just sort of like wander around the world having a bit of fun.
You know, I think you know, I've been quite vocal about I'm a huge Jan Frodeno fan. I think he's the greatest athlete we've seen up until this point in time. And it's obvious he's 40 years old, turning 41 this year. Like at some point he's going to retire. But to actually sort of hear it's quite like, I know it's tough, and I'm not surprised, to be honest, that this has happened. Like, again, I think my first thought was when I woke up to the message, I thought, I'm not surprised. Like I guess in some way, never really expected him to be at Kona this year. I mean, the fact that he pulled out at Roth not that long ago, we're talking Kona's not that long, that's not that far away. I guess I just didn't see it happen. And whether it's because of this injury, I guess I didn't. Jan's not the sort of guy, I don't think, who's not going to go to the race unless he's there to win. And I'm very sad about this. I also have this hope that we'll see Christian and Gustav maybe rock up. But again, there's other athletes that I also like. I'd like to see that battle that him and Magnus started finished. You know, there's a fit Ali. I'd love to see Jan race a fit Ali. Like, that's not the only thing. Like, there's still, I think, a lot of good potential. And then the other thing I think about is that we've started to see these match races starting to come up in long distance. Where we saw the sub 7, sub 8, we saw the tri battle. Who's to say we won't see a Jan versus Christian versus Gustav in the next 6 months? Maybe you know, if the money's there or the interest is there, maybe we will. Like, maybe it won't be Kona, but maybe we'll still get to see them. I don't know, but I mean,
I can't see that happening.
Okay.
The only way I can ever see him racing Christian and Gustav is if he's racing Kona next year and one of them or both of them decide to step across. Jan Frodeno is one of the greatest. Yeah, Jan Frodeno is one of the greatest athletes we've seen in the sport, but I can't see him. If it was me and it was my final year, I wouldn't arrange my legacy.
You're the prize fighter.
Well, I'm just saying my legacy I wouldn't allow my legacy to finish with a match race against Christian and Gustav. Just wouldn't. I'd be like, nah, you're all right. Yeah. Thank you.
Nah, you're all right, man. You never beat me. That's all that matters. Yeah. Never, exactly. You never got the chance. I beat you, Gustav, at the Collins Cup. That's all that matters. End of story. Psh,
yeah.
Done.
We just drawn a line.
Nah, again, it's it is what it is. Again, I'm not surprised. It's upsetting, but again, I just hope he recovers, and I'd love to see him, like I said, that one last proper go at Kona, and you know, remind us all why he's the GOAT. So yeah, that's that. Speaking of injuries and athletes and all that sort of stuff, on the flip side, we have a big name athlete who's actually returning to racing this weekend at the World Triathlon Long Distance Championships. It's a very heavy 24/7 episode this week because literally there was barely any other news on other sites. But this is from John Levinson, not Jonathan Turner. In a parallel to Alistair Brownlee racing at Ironman Calma, which we spoke about last week, the return of Lucy Charles-Barclay to racing will bring a lot of eyeballs and interest to the race. She said, "It's time to pull the trigger. In just under 2 weeks, I'll be kicking off my race season at the World Triathlon Long Distance Championships in Slovakia. It's been a roller coaster ride to get this point, but I'm finally ready to put on a race number and find out where I'm at." There's been plenty of chat on whether Emma Pallant-Brown should also be racing on Saturday, but she will be in Samarin, and unless there's a late Team Europe withdrawal, racing on Sunday at the World Triathlon Long Distance Champs. Emma has raced at the venue multiple times over the years, including winning the Collins Cup match in 2021 and second at the championship earlier this year. So she will also be another one of the favourites. Other females who are racing are Sarissa de Vries from the Netherlands, who won the title in 2021 over a different distance. And you've also got athletes like Lisa Norden, Louisa Baptista, and Manon Gannett from France, to name just three. There's a decent field, despite many of the top names already occupied on Saturday. So the women's race, mate, like I said, we've sort of been circling or hovering around this for a few weeks now. We sort of talked about the fact that it's the long distance champs, but it's quite a short distance. But the fact that we'll talk about the men's field soon, but that women's field is actually, you know, when you've got some real firepower there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be a really interesting race. I'm always excited when I see Lisa Norden on a start line because I love to see what she can do on the bike. But, you know, I know you're a big fan of Emma Pallant-Brown, and I think you're quite right to be because the firepower that she brings on that run is outstanding. And this kind of distance is perfectly suited for that and for her and the way she races. And watching Lucy Charles-Barclay come back, it'd be a pleasure to see her race again and see where she's at because, you know, before she got injured, she was looking like the unstoppable force. And I would quite like to see her come back to that because, I don't feel like before she got injured, she got the chance to really show how unstoppable that force could be. And I'd like to see where she can take it.
I'll tell you one thing about Lucy. Like I have talked to death about her performance in St. George last year at 70.3 World Champs. But us actually being in St. George earlier this year and seeing the run course and knowing how hilly that fucking course was and knowing that she ran a 78-minute off the bike on that course, it fucking blows my mind, mate. Like, honestly, you think about that super steep descent that they went down. And shit, it's phenomenal. And the other thing as well that I think is worth noting is I'm like, again, maybe I'm reading into this, but I think it shows a lot for Emma Pallant-Brown to go to Shamrock after not being picked, having a lot of people being quite vocal about her not being picked, to still go there, head held high, and go and race this. I think it sends a really strong message too, to be like, you're going to regret not picking me. Watch what I'm going to do here, and I love it.
I'd love to see her perform, really, really perform, and show that she was a worthy captain's pick. I mean, we've discussed it, but I can understand the captain's picks not simply just being the next two athletes in the number order, because it then wouldn't become a captain's pick. It becomes, we just got to select the next two.
And we wouldn't have got a Hayden, we wouldn't have got a Flora. So.
Exactly. So, I know, you just got to take the rough with the smooth. But if I was her, I would be going, fuck you, and watch what I can do.
Watch what I can do. Yeah. Let's talk about the men's race. Plenty of quality athletes there too. Currently at number 8, Florian Angert from Germany is the highest ranked athlete from the PTO rankings. He knows Cameron well. He won the championship in 2021 and third in 2018. We've also got Frederick Funk, who's going to be there, and he's, again, great athlete. They've traded wins over the years, but Funk was dominant in their most recent matchup at Challenge Walshy in June and also impressed with 5th in Edmonton. The French have historically taken this championship very seriously, with Denis Chevreau, Pierre Lecour, and Clement Mignon all racing. They have a strong field. Lecour took silver in Munich, but has shown his middle distance talent this year when third in Dubai and winning Les Sables d'Olonne. New Zealand's Kyle Smith would have been close to a Collins Cup selection, but he will surely have podium hopes for this race. Again, 2 previous events there will make it a home from home for him. And add in the biking power of Robert Cullen from Sweden and the short course youth of Jamie Riddle from South Africa. Now, straight away, Jamie Riddle impressed me so much at the Com Games. So he's an athlete that I'm really excited to see do this race. And I also believe he's going to be racing Super League. So seeing him and Hayden doing this middle distance stuff a couple of weeks out from Super League, I think is cool. So what do you think about this men's race?
It is cool, and it furthers what we said earlier about the cross-contamination that seems to be more and more possible nowadays. I think this will be an interesting race. I mean, I'm really keen to see what Carl Smith can do, mate, because he's a name, we've seen.
Great athlete.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that if I'm honest, I'd quite like to see him take this one out. Like you say, Jamie Riddle, impressive at the Commonwealth Games. And, there are some other names in there that will dictate things. But we know most of the noise is going to be around the Collins Cup this weekend. So hopefully we will see enough action and excitement from this race to make us pay attention.
Who are your picks? Male and female winners?
On the women's side, there I'm going to say Emma Pallant-Brown's going to come out and stick it to them. And on the men's side, I'm going to go with Carl Smith.
I 100% agree with you. It's boring, isn't it? Yeah. I think they're good picks. Yeah. I think they're good picks. So again, I'm quite keen to see this. It's not a race I traditionally watch, but it's going to be on Triathlon Live, and I think I'll be in the air, so I won't get to see it, but I'll watch the highlights or something. The other series that's coming up, we just touched on a little bit, is Super League Triathlon, and they have confirmed all the details for this season this week. Again, Tri 24/7, Jonathan Turner, Olympic medalists, Commonwealth Games winners, world and European champions, and triathlon legends all feature in the list of 40 athletes announced for Super League Triathlon's biggest ever championship series. The countdown to next week's draft is well and truly on for the global 5-event series, which showcased fast, exciting, and innovative race formats in iconic locations, all for a share of a $1.8 million prize pool. The action gets underway in London on September 4, followed by Munich, Malibu, Toulouse, and then a grand final in Neom in Saudi Arabia. Draft details, the all-important draft to determine which teams the athletes will race for will take place on Super League's digital channels on Tuesday, 23rd of August at 4 p.m. British Standard Time, I guess, BST. And as I said, the series goes Sunday, September 4th in London, September 11, Munich, September 17, Malibu, 2nd October, Toulouse, France, and then 29th of October in Neom in Saudi Arabia. So the key names in the women, we have Emma Jeffcoat, Georgia Taylor-Brown, Taylor Spivey, Sian Rainsley, Sophie Caldwell, Beth Potter, it's Kate Wolf, I think, even though it's spelled Kate Wolf. But I think it's pronounced Wolf, I think.
Wolf?
Is that right? I think so.
All right.
I know that Chris got in trouble on the commentary. I might be wrong. Non-Stanford, Rachel Klammer. In the men, we've got Tyler Mislawchuk, Hayden Wild, Matt Hauser, Henry Schumann, Jonathan Brownlee, Vasco Valasa, Vincent Louis, Jonas Schomburg, Martin Van Riel, with some wild cards including Cassandra Bogran, Laura Lindemann, and Richard Murray. Now, I already know, mate, straight away there's a few names on that list who will not be there. I know that Martin Van Riel is injured, and I believe Vincent Louis might be injured too.
Really? Yeah, we know that Martin Van Riel is injured. I picked out the kid. There are the start lists. We'll just say the start lists are bigger than that. There are a lot more names that we don't know. I just picked out the key names that the triathlon world will be most associated with. Now, it's good to see Super League back. I'm really pleased to see them back. I love their championship racing. I'll be glued to the TV for this, and it's really cool to see some more names that we recognise in the championship series. You know, the arena games were great, but you know they didn't have those key names that really drew us in. We had a couple of key players, but you didn't have a depth of names that you recognise racing each other. So you're going to draw more eyes to this. Super League, I think, is it's some of the best racing around. Glad to see Richard Murray back in getting a wild card. You know, I thought for the longest time he was going to retire, and I'm really pleased to see him back and racing at the top level. I got to tell you though, I wish they weren't going to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, but, mate. I also agree they weren't going to Saudi Arabia. To be honest, I don't like that at all. I've heard lots of interesting things about this. I'm watching with interest. I mean, I heard Alex Ear's not going to race there. He's not on the list, which I think is the defending champion not there. Curious. There's lots of names. Like I said, I heard that Vincent Louis is injured. We know Martin Van Riel's injured. I just hope, again, what makes me excited about Super League racing is the athletes. Like we have all the stars of short course racing in these super dynamic formats, and I hope that we get to see that carry through this year because I thought they did quite a good job last year. I missed the multi-day racing. I hope maybe in the future we go back to that because that was something that I always really loved about Super League. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see, mate. It's I like Super League, so I'm excited to have it back.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be watching with interest, won't we? We both love it. Probably sat on a turbo trainer somewhere, pretending we're as fast as they are.
No, I don't know what you're talking about, mate. That's not me. I've definitely never done that. I've definitely never surged on the trainer as Hayden's made an attack off the front or anything like that. So I don't know what you're talking about.
We ought to mention, before we move into your interview, we ought to mention that as well as the Long Course World Championships, as well as the Collins Cup, Alistair Brownlee will be racing in an Ironman this weekend to try and qualify for Kona. So
I think we did that last week, didn't we? We sort of touched on that.
Just thought I'd drop it in, just so people know they can pay attention if they want to.
Does this mean, because I do know that Ironman Copenhagen's happening this weekend. I'm guessing that means that because I haven't seen any start list. I couldn't see a pre-race preview. I guess it's not a pro race. That's the only thing I can assume.
No, it should be a pre-race, a pro race.
Because wasn't there also discussions that the only races that Ali could qualify for Kona was Kalmar in Sweden or Mont Tremblant? Ironman.
The tracker says Ironman Copenhagen is a male-only pro race.
Oh, interesting that he's at Kalmar instead of Copenhagen then.
Yeah, Brownlee's racing in Kalmar, which again tells me it's only a male-only pro race.
There you go. 2 male-only pro races. I know that Ireland was a pro-only female race, as we touched on at the start of the episode. Mate, let's put in the interview that I did with Flora Duffy, and then we'll be back for the down low on the PTO. This week, we are extremely lucky to be joined by the 6-time Xterra World Champion, 2-time Commonwealth Games gold medalist, 3-time World Triathlon World Champion, and Olympic gold medalist, Dame Flora Duffy. Flora, is there a special way that I need to greet you as a dame? Do I have to curtsy? Do I have to bow? Is there a process?
No, there's no process. But it's funny. I'm here in the US a lot, and so this sort of dame, sir, all of that is really just not a thing here. But being over in Birmingham recently, and then every time I'm in the paper in Bermuda, I'm referred to as Dame Flora Duffy. So obviously you're in Australia, so you would also get that whole Commonwealth connection. And Yeah, it's funny to hear it.
Are you going to make it a condition when they announce you at World Triathlon events now when you're walking out, or maybe at the Collins Cup this weekend where they have to include Dame before your name? Is that going to be part of the requirements moving forward?
Well, I don't know if that is like allowed, but
Oh,
I've
faux
kind of
pas.
have half been expecting it. Like when I was in Leeds, for example, because it's a big thing there. When I did a BBC interview, like half the interview was talking about um me receiving a damehood. And so I was half expecting it, but it didn't happen there, so I doubt it. But it's okay. It's okay.
Well, you see, my brother's a pilot, and he went through this period when he first got his wings where he insisted on me calling him Captain Ford. So if I was a Sir or Dam, I'd be like he'd be milking it. I'd probably do the same thing. But again, um, I think a great place to start is around the I guess the reaction to your result in Tokyo. And I don't want to talk too much about Tokyo, but I think as an Australian, you're in America. Most of our listeners probably don't understand just how significant that gold medal must have been for Bermuda, the first gold medal in your country's history. Like, can you explain to me the gravity of that and what the reception's been like to that achievement?
Yeah, it was massive. I think yeah, it is lost on a lot of people that maybe come from bigger countries that they'll go to compete at the Olympics, but their country might win anywhere from, I don't know, 10 to, I don't know, 100 medals. And like Bermuda, like that was all resting on my shoulders. And yeah, it's a small country, but it's still a country. And you still have like all of that expectation and hope, um, yeah, on your shoulders when you're going into the event. And you definitely know about that. I think in this 5-year Olympic build, that COVID year, which really made a big difference, there wasn't really a day that went by that I wasn't sort of reminded of that, which was definitely something I had to get used to and really get comfortable with being in that space. But yeah, fast forward to me going there, winning the medal, and it was way bigger than I ever could have imagined. Like for me, I was so focused on preparing, executing a great race and winning and, fulfilling my childhood dream. I didn't think about the after and what it would mean to everyone in Bermuda, or even just even if people had like lived in Bermuda for a couple of years and they had moved back to, where they're originally from. Like I just was massive, like way bigger than I could ever have expected, which definitely kind of threw me a little bit because I was trying to process all my emotions personally of fulfilling this dream. And then all of a sudden it was like this gigantic moment, which was incredibly special. Um, but when I went back in October, yeah, it was insane. As from the moment I touched down to the moment I left, like it was just nonstop, and it was really incredible to really yeah, experience it and see how much it meant to everyone for various different reasons. And it's just incredible how it really united the island, and everyone was so proud to see Bermuda on the world stage performing like, at Olympic Games, winning a medal. Like that just doesn't happen every game. So yeah, it was truly special. And I was actually just back home last week, and so I got to see there's this giant mural painted on the main post office in Hamilton, and it's my name and it's
Wow.
done beautifully. And I got to see the Flora Duffy hill that was the
So,
sign was installed, and I don't know, it was I kind of felt a little bit like ridiculous, like touring all these things, but Dan was like dead keen for me to see it
tell me,
all.
tell me
But
you
yeah, it
stood
was special.
Tell me you stood next to the sign. You just like hanged around for a little while, hoping that somebody would walk past, going, "That's Flora Duffy on." Oh yeah, like I just imagine I'd be there all day, being like, "Yeah, this is named after me. Thank you very much. This
Yeah.
is this is me."
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things I find so amazing about last Olympics, especially, is if you had have said in the lead up to 2000 Olympics that in 2021 it would be a Norwegian and a Bermudan winning the gold medal in triathlon, I think people probably would have laughed at you. So I think it's I love the fact that we're now seeing just different countries. Like we've got so many medal winners from so many different countries now in our sport, and it's again is fantastic. One of the things, and I don't want to talk about the Olympics too much, but the thing I find fascinating, speaking with people like yourself who've been through these incredibly big moments, is what are those immediate moments like after you've won? Like you've crossed the finish line, you've had the medal ceremony, and you're sort of alone by yourself, starting to process what's happened. Like, what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, well, I feel like I didn't really get much alone time by myself for quite a while after, because it's amazing. I mean, you cross the line and you have to go through, do the whole press stuff and get your medal press conference. And then it's amazing how quickly, um, whether it's news outlets or whatever, contact you, find you, and you're immediately booked for so many interviews. Like I was only in Tokyo for 2 days after my race because that was the required, you had to leave 2 days after your race because of
Yep.
COVID protocols, but it was just nonstop going from interview to interview. I think the afternoon after my race, I was at a CNN studio. Yeah, sitting there doing an interview and then went to another one. And then I was on the German ZDF, their big network. And it was crazy because the interview was in German and I had an earpiece in that was translating it to English. And then I was speaking English on like, I think live TV. Oh my gosh, it was a lot. But I didn't get those moments to just truly sit by myself and try to soak it in until weeks after
Yeah.
coming back from the Olympics.
Well, you said it at the start of the interview. It was a childhood dream. And you also said that you sort of didn't think beyond it. Like I guess it is this very set time. You're working towards it. What's it like achieving this incredible goal that you spent your career working towards? Like what's that like? What's the other side like when you've already? It's like I find that so fascinating.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess I should know because I have achieved it, but it doesn't feel like that much different. You're like, well, I'm
Yep.
still Flora and still like, I'm still doing triathlon and training every day. And I sometimes wonder like, what the heck am I doing here? And I'm at the pool and I have to do a threshold swim and I'm like, why am I still doing this? But I mean, I guess ultimately, yeah, you have these dreams and goals along the way. But I mean, I love doing triathlon and competing and traveling and get to race in various places. So I guess for me now it just feels like, I don't know, a big relief. And I'm just like proud to get to race as the Olympic champion. And yeah, as I get announced for races, it's, Flora Duffy Olympic champion. It's like, it's just incredible. So I guess it's not too much different, except you get, yeah, referred to as the Olympic champion. And that's like really special. And just, yeah, enjoying all that comes along with it, really.
I was speaking with your husband Dan before we started recording. Have you thrown it in his face a little bit? Like, has there been a night where you've not wanted to clean up? You're like, I'm an Olympic champion. The least you can do is clean up dinner. Thanks. Like, do you use it at all like that?
No, it doesn't really work around here. He'd be like, yeah, okay, cool, but you still got to do the dishes.
Well, you went from an incredible 2021 to what we'd call maybe a rough 2022 to start with. You had COVID twice. You attempted to do some 70.3 races. Bikes went missing. It didn't go according to plan. Um, as an athlete, you still have the Commonwealth Games to focus on. Like, is it hard to stay focused when you're constantly coming up with these challenges or these hurdles, or is it something that, I don't know, fuels you as an athlete, makes you go, no, I'm even more determined to go out and dominate a race because of the rough start that I've had to a year?
Yeah, definitely a little bit of both. I think the start of this year was pretty difficult for me because I took a long break at the end of last year. So I was really unfit. And then, so that was about 6 weeks. And right at the end of that, I got COVID, and COVID really knocked me. So it was like another at least 4 weeks until I kind of started, I would say, sort of training again. So it was a really long period. And so it was really strange for me because 2021, I felt my all-time fittest and won the Olympics. And then starting 2022, I was like absolutely nowhere. I was a bit like, gosh, I hope I was in Stellenbosch training. I was like, oh gosh, I hope people don't like know I won the Olympics like 6 months ago because they would never believe me right now. So yeah, it definitely took a long time to like process and kind of like feel like myself again. So I would say I definitely started the year kind of like, oof, I don't know if I can do this year. But yeah, kind of gradually found myself and really racing in Yokohama. I kind of went into that first race really unsure um, about how everything would go, if I was still enjoying this. And, oddly enough, being there, battling it out with, it was like, Georgia and the two French women, we were, racing there as a pack on the run and finishing that race and finishing third, it kind of fired me up like, oh man, like, wait, I still do want this, which was kind of like cool to feel. And then, yeah, then we've had the series of events of COVID again. And my bike when I tried to do Mount Tremblant, which was like my last hope to qualify for 70.3 Worlds. And when that my bike didn't make it, and that was a whole like rough 24 hours, 48 hours trying to like locate the bike. Okay, I'm not racing. And flying back to Denver after that was like really that was pretty brutal. And it took me, I mean, okay, only like a week, but when you're sort of nearly mid-season and you've kind of had all sorts of weird things go on and not really kind of a result to show yet, and then it just, yeah, really demoralized myself and my husband Dan. But yeah, I think that's the thing with triathlon. There's also many events, and it was still what were we, June at this point, I think. So
Mhm.
yeah, I kind of rallied and knew I had Commonwealth looming and really wanted to just try to like get myself back into the World Triathlon Series as well. So that kind of reinvigorated me and went into Hamburg pretty determined to have a great result.
You did.
And that sort of springboarded me nicely into Commonwealth Games to go there and feel like I could defend my title from 2018. But yeah, it's definitely been a challenge. And I said, I was like, I hope 2022 is just a nice, simple year. I can just enjoy racing, not worry too much about results. And then this year's just started off like, oh, what a headache it's been.
Well, you talked about Birmingham, and you were fantastic in Birmingham. But I think looking as a spectator, it seemed as though it was a completely different experience to Tokyo. The course was packed compared to Tokyo, where there was a few people around, but not really. How did those two experiences contrast? And do you feel like maybe you got to have a bit more of an Olympic experience in Birmingham after not getting it in Tokyo?
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, they couldn't have been more different in terms of the crowds and atmosphere. I mean, obviously with Tokyo, crowds not being allowed. But then Birmingham was insane. Like the crowds were crazy. It was so cool to race in and experience. And I think for me, I knew that was going to be my last Commonwealth Games. So really to be present and absorb and really take it all in. And then, yeah, to be off the front with Georgia, the two of us doing a two up. And obviously, she's from England, so all the English supporters were just going absolutely crazy, and it was, yeah, really an electric environment out there. There was loads of Bermuda flags out there too, so I felt like I had a nice amount of cheers. And then, yeah, my parents were over. One of my brothers was there. We had a mixed team relay racing, so the parents of the other Bermudian athletes racing were there. So it was a really nice contingent. And yeah, it felt like I could race in front of friends and family and yeah, have that experience that I didn't have in Tokyo.
No, it was, and then that moment you made that attack on the bike, there was like, yeah, this is the moment of the race. I think I remember watching it, getting quite excited, thinking, yeah, I think we're about to see. This is sort of what it came down to, and it did. So
Yeah.
that was fantastic. We've seen in the last, I guess, year or so, we've seen a lot of the triathlon rules have been broken. Christian Blumenfeld winning the Ironman World Championships immediately after the Olympics. Both yourself and Christian winning the World Triathlon World Championships the same year as winning the Olympics. I think you were the first person to ever do it. Christian was the second immediately following you. What do you think it is about the sport at the moment, or what's happening in the sport, that we're starting to see the rule book thrown out a bit? What's changing?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, firstly, I don't know. Christian is some like own species. I don't know how he does it. That was, yeah, definitely really impressive his year last year and even the start of this year to be able to just sort of go from Olympic to Ironman. Um but yeah, I think at the moment, I don't know, I can only speak from it from coming from a World Triathlon Olympic sprint distance background. And I think the level is so high there at the moment that to be able to jump over to the sort of 70.3 distance or the 100K distance that you see in the PTO races is not too much of a jump,
Hmm.
distance wise and training wise. So I think yeah, that has allowed some of us short course racers to excel over that distance. In terms of how people do it from Ironman, I have no idea. That is another set of triathlon that I don't quite understand and is definitely find very intimidating. Um, so I don't know. It's kind of a fun and exciting time to be in the sport because there's so many different races to do between World Triathlon, PTO, Super League, Ironman racing. I don't know, maybe because there is so much diversity now that's really like pushing all of us athletes to be kind of good at each little part of triathlon.
You touched on saying that Ironman's intimidating. It was made quite public that you were offered a slot to Kona last year. Did the thought like what was that like? Did you think maybe, or did you go absolutely not? Like what was that like when you got the hey,
Oh.
would you like to race Kona?
Oh, I thought absolutely no way. Like no way. I was so exhausted after the Olympics. Like getting through the two World Triathlon races shortly after was like a miracle. No, so I was like, no, no thanks. I was like, why would you invite me? But then Christian was probably like, yes. So each to their own, right?
You talked about the struggles in Canada trying to race to qualify for 70.3 Worlds, and it hasn't happened. Did you save the person from Ironman's phone number and give them a call and say, well, you offered me a slot to Kona. Maybe you should offer me a slot to St. George this year, 70.3 instead?
Yeah, well, I know. I think actually, I want to say Dan might have emailed after Chattanooga to see if that was an option because I knew with my schedule to fit another one in before the deadline would have been really tough. And yeah, they said that was only for the wild card was only for Kona. So
Yeah, they don't have a good transfer policy. That's something I think everybody sort of knows about Ironman. However, we are still going to see you race in some middle distance. This weekend, you received a captain's pick for Team International. I'm very happy about it as an Australian to see you representing Team International. How did the captain's pick come about?
yeah, I was notified, I think a couple of weeks ago that I was been given the not option, I guess it's option. I don't know. You can decline it,
They weren't going
but
to
that I
force you.
was, yeah, that I was, being selected as a captain's pick, and I don't know, pretty straightforward, really. Just asked if I was interested in doing it. I was also offered a captain's pick last year, right after the
Okay.
Olympics, but I declined that because I know I really needed a break from triathlon right then. So yeah, this year, really excited. It will be my first sort of middle distance race of the year. So let's hope third time lucky. We are in race week, and so I just need my bike to make it and not to get COVID. And I'm really excited to start and just do one of these races and learn and experience it. And a lot of these women that are there, I haven't raced before. So yeah, I think there's a lot to learn and just see that if I like the distance. I've only raced one 70.3 before. It was a little bit of a disaster, but it's a long race, so I thankfully came right at the end. But yeah, yeah, looking forward to it.
Well,
And I'm very glad that Paula and Ashley are on my team and I don't have to race them.
I've seen a few athletes that already starting to have some bike struggles. Europe at the moment seems to be a bit of a nightmare for bikes. But it's not a normal triathlon in the sense that it's a 1v1 three-way match. Representing Team International. Who are the athletes you'd love to be paired up against? Like, of all the people who are racing, who are the ones you like? I'd like to race
Oh gosh.
you two. Who are the people you'd like to come up against?
I don't know. I had to do I did a PTO interview a couple days ago, and I was very unsure of who I should say because I figured if I the two that I said I'd probably be matched up against, or like thought, yeah. So I was like, okay, you got to think through this carefully, Flora. Otherwise, you're gonna really find yourself against two like extremely strong women.
And nobody's
I
expecting
don't
much
know.
of you. You're only the Olympic champion, so it's not like people are going to
Yeah,
be going.
exactly. Yeah. I don't know. I don't have anyone sort of, you know, like at the moment picked. I think anyone and will be quite exciting and a new challenge for me. So
You said before that the standard at short course racing or world triathlon racing is so high, and it's 100% the case. And that you not only have such a high standard, but you race the same women week in or not week in, very, very often. And like the level is so high that if you're even off like the slightest little bit, it can mean a podium to dropping out of the top 10. Like it's incredible to watch. I love it. But do you think that that's going to maybe give you a bit of an edge this weekend going into the Collins Cup, where a lot of the more traditional long course athletes don't get the opportunity to race against such a stacked field as often as you do?
yeah, totally. I think like that's why it's hard for me to answer, well, who do you want to race? Because I'm like, well, I'm really used to racing like the best of the best all the time on the World Triathlon circuit, like it's pretty rare to have like a weak field. Like it's always stacked. There's always Olympic medalists there, former world champions, reigning world champions. So I think that is a nice, yeah, strength that I can bring, that I'm very comfortable being in yeah, a very competitive, um, I don't know, intense setting. So yeah, I think that's, yeah, it'll be interesting.
Maybe we'll have to get you paired up against Nicholas Spirig, so we've got the gold medalists up against each
Yeah,
other.
well, I know I keep seeing people throwing that around, so that wouldn't surprise me.
You've been competing at the highest level for a long time now. And that's not me. You know, you've been amazing. You've achieved so many things. Like literally, I've read out your list of Palmares at the start of the episode. Like, what is it that when you've achieved as much as you have, what is it that keeps you going? What is it? What more do you want to achieve in the sport?
Yeah, I mean, I found that really like having to answer that question this year after achieving all that I did last year. I mean, winning Olympic gold was my all-time dream, and then I did it. And so, and I've, have already won world titles at World Triathlon and Commonwealth gold. So, yeah, it was an interesting like reflection point for me this year as I started to get back into training of like, why am I doing this? Like, what's driving me now? And I think that's still a question that I'm still trying to answer as as the season goes on, and I'm just like not really putting the pressure on myself to have to answer that, and rather just kind of enjoy the moment and enjoy that I still get to live this really nice lifestyle, and I get to sure enjoy the privilege of being the reigning Olympic champion and getting to race, which is, I don't know, quite a special thing that not many get to enjoy. At experience. And I think I'm also pretty drawn to trying some of the long course. 70.3 is something that Ironman I'm still trying to warm myself up to, but 70.3 I'm really intrigued, and I find that as it's a really it's a new challenge. Getting comfortable on the time trial bike, learning the whole nutrition side. Yeah, it's been a fun new side of triathlon to sort of scratch the surface at. So I, put all my intention for this year was to race some 70.3, try a different style of triathlon. So that's kept me motivated. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Other than that, I guess I really enjoy it. So yeah, just kind of trying to, yeah, figure that question out as I go.
Well, I guess if you look at how your races have gone since the Olympics, you have sort of mixed and matched a little bit. We saw you make an appearance at Super League. We saw you defend or win another Xterra World title. We've now got you doing the Collins Cup. We've seen you doing some World Triathlon races. So it does seem like you're sort of out there sampling things a little bit, and it's
Yes, that's a good way to put it. Sampling. Yeah.
having the full
Yeah.
triathlon experience, except for that crazy long one. That's sort
Yeah.
of we don't talk about that one. Have you found? Obviously, you said there was a big, I guess, reaction in Bermuda after winning the Olympic medal. Have you found that your competitors treat you differently now that you're a gold medalist? Like, is there a different? Or do you feel an aura about you? Do you find people have changed the way they maybe react to you? Like, if they see you on a start list, like, oh bloody hell, Flora's here. Like, have you noticed a change in how your competitors are around you now?
No, I think, everyone still treats me the same, or I think so anyway. I'm not really sure. I feel like I try to keep myself, I'm not in like one of the specific, like, like ITU training groups.
Hmm.
So maybe I'm like a little bit removed from, I don't know what like each reputation everyone has, but I don't think so. I think everyone still pretty much treats me as just like Flora, the same as before. I think maybe sometimes maybe some of the younger athletes that are, doing their first World Series race, perhaps they're can sometimes be, you can tell they're a little, I want to say starstruck, but like, wow, that's Flora. And it's just like weird. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just Flora. Like it's all very normal. We're all going to get the same start line and race and compete over the same distance. So no, that's like the nice thing about where women's triathlon is at it's at the world triathlon level is that I think we all have so much respect for one another that it's a really nice environment to be racing against one another at the moment.
Do you feel it? Like now that you have achieved this, do you feel a new pressure on yourself to live up to the title of Olympic, or have you done that already, so it doesn't matter anymore? Like how has it changed you personally as an athlete? Do you think?
Yeah, it's weird. It's a little bit of both, I think. And one side, yeah, I am like, well, I've achieved everything. So everything I do from now on is sort of a cherry on top. But at the same time, you do kind of want to, yeah, live up. You are the Olympic champion, so you do want to race well and win races and perform at your best. Um, and so, yeah, it is interesting. And I think if I think back to Tokyo, like you always see these like comments about, well, if this, and this happened, then this person would have won, or if there's no motorbikes, then this person would have won, or if this, and I guess there's like that's like the outside noise, and you shouldn't really listen to that or concern yourself with those opinions. But I guess every time you back it up and you win a race or you perform really well, you just kind of like solidifying like yes, like I'm the Olympic champion for a reason. So
One of the, I mean, kind of the same question, but I guess a flip of it a little bit is we all hear about I guess, the upsides and the rewards of success. But you said straight at the start about, straight away you were pulling in media. You've had requests from, I've been pestering you for 6 months trying to get you to come on the podcast. Has there been, I guess, unforeseen, like a downside to the success as well? Like, have you had things that happen? You're like, I didn't expect this and I don't particularly enjoy this, or has it all been fantastic?
I think I am a little bit more known now. So that's kind of taken a little bit more of an adjustment. Like, okay, yes, I do get recognized a lot in Bermuda. Um,
Standing
but
next
it's a
to your
small
sign on the
place
hill
and
saying,
yeah,
yes.
that's hey, look at me, it's Flora. Yeah. Um, but I mean that's I guess, that's gradually been building as my career's gone on. But I think, oh yeah, a little bit here in Boulder, I get just recognized a little bit more, which has been strange for me because Boulder's always been a place where like there's so many great triathletes here that it's just normal.
Mhm.
And so it kind of when I came back from the Olympics and I turned up to the pool I always swim at, which is this nice public 50-meter pool. And suddenly the person that was checking me in was like, "Whoa, you're Flora. You just won Olympic gold." And I'm like, "You've been checking me in like all summer and haven't it's just like little things like that you're
Yeah.
like, you just kind of notice it, and it's nothing big or crazy, but you're like, wow, this is it's different. It's
Mm.
definitely different and been bigger than I ever could have imagined. Yeah.
In many years from now, when people like myself, or many years from now, when you've announced your retirement from triathlon, people like myself are talking about the impact that you had on the sport of triathlon. What do you hope we say about you? How do you hope we talk about you as a triathlete?
I think, yeah, someone that always, I guess, yeah, it'll probably always come up that raced aggressively and like really took the race to people and, would always make it hard. But I think ultimately I would want to be remembered that someone that was, I don't know, well respected by her peers and fellow competitors. And I think that's just, yeah, a really good sign of someone that raced with integrity and dignity. And yeah, I think that can be really difficult to leave that sort of legacy when you are at the top. So I think that would be most impactful and meaningful for me is, yeah, to be someone that could have achieved as what I have, but also was, yeah, highly respected and liked by the competitors.
Fantastic. Well, Flora, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure to get to spend this time talking with you. As I said, I did pester you for a long time to get you on, so you can look forward to those emails stopping from now on. Good luck this weekend at the Collins Cup. No pressure. Again, I'm sure you're used to racing with no pressure on your shoulders. If people want to find out more, follow you, all those sort of stuff. If there's people you want to plug, here's your opportunity to do so.
Yeah, well, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and it's both of those are just at Flora Duffy. So very simple.
Perfect. Well, Flora, again, thank you so much for joining us, and good luck this weekend.
Yeah, thank you.
And we're back.
Exceptional interview, Tim Ford. You should do all of them from now on.
Time zones can be a little bit challenging, mate, but yeah, I had a good time. I had a great chat with Flora Duffy, and yeah, it was good to finally get her on the podcast.
Welcome to the down low on the PTO, mate. I mean, there's only one thing we can talk about this week, isn't there? And that is the impending Collins Cup. So we're going to do
That thing.
that thing. We're going to do a preview of the Collins Cup. So it's back for its second edition this coming Saturday, 20th of August, 2022. Team Europe delivered on their pre-race favourite status to win 12 months ago, and would be odds on to repeat that again this year. Their team of 12s includes the top 4 ranked male and female athletes in the PTO World Ranking System, and their captain's picks are hardly weak either. Can they be stopped? So, yeah, I mean, the PTO's number 1 ranked athletes, Christian Blumenfeld and Daniela Ryf, will be awarded with a $90,000 prize purse. By contrast, Olympic and Commonwealth champion Flora Duffy and Olympic bronze, Commonwealth silver, and current WTCS series leader Hayden Wild will receive the lowest prize purses, as neither athlete currently feature on the latest PTO world rankings. So, as we've discussed before, last year, probably mostly when we were leading up to this, the athletes aren't paid on their performances, they're paid on their rankings. So it's kind of almost like an appearance fee based on where you rank within the PTO. So, it drives you to be a higher ranking throughout the year. So therefore driving higher performances throughout the year. So you get a bigger payday at the Collins Cup. It does mean that some of the wild cards that have been picked aren't getting quite as much money as the big names who are well up the rankings already. On Team Europe, on the men's side, we've got Christian Blumenfeld, Gustav Eden, Patrick Lang, and Magnus Ditlev. And the captain's picks are Daniel Beckergaard and Sam Laidlow. Team USA, Matt Hansen, Sam Long, Rudy Von Berg, Chris Letterman, with captain's picks Ben Canute and Jason West. And for Team Rest of the World, we've got Lionel Sanders, Braden Curry, Max Newman, Jackson Laundry, Aaron Royal, and Hayden Wild are the captain's picks. On the women's side, Team Europe is comprised of Daniela Ryf, Anna Haug, Laura Phillip, Kat Matthews, with captain picks Holly Lawrence and Nicola Spirig. On Team USA, Sky Monch, Chelsea Sodaro, Jackie Herring, and Jocelyn McCauley, with captain picks Sophie Watts and Sarah True. And Team Rest of the World, Paula Finley, Ashley Gentle, Tamara Jewett, Ellie Salthouse, with captain picks Flora Duffy and Victoria Lopez. Now, an addition at a point that needs to be made about Team USA is that Taylor Nibb was going to be up, but she is pulled out of the race because she was not fully fit and focusing on returning to racing later in the year. She'll not be able to take her place at the Collins Cup. So they've replaced her with... who was it?
Jocelyn McCauley.
Jocelyn McCauley, yeah, sorry. Yeah, got my names muddled up. Now this...
Good, mate.
It's going to be exciting, mate. I love it. I love the Collins Cup because I wasn't expecting to love the Collins Cup. And when I was there watching it, it was really fascinating and intriguing racing. It's a shame that you're not going to be there this year. But we get to watch it take place. And what do you think's going to happen? I mean, obviously Team Europe's going to dominate, aren't they? Absolutely dominate. Dominate. Top 4 in both.
I'm not as convinced as you are, mate, because I think we're going to. I really think I've said it a lot in the lead up to this. I think it's a much more rounded race this year. I mean, Europe clearly is incredible, but there's some. I was just sitting there like while you were talking and sort of imagining some of the matchups that I'm kind of hoping we're going to see, because at this point in time they haven't announced who's racing who. And I think that there's some really, potentially exciting and interesting little battles we could see here. You look at some of the athletes, like, for example, I don't know if you've been following it. There's been this real social media, what's the word, battle going on between Sam Laidlaw and Sam Long, or it's a bit more one-sided where Sam Laidlaw seems to be at Sam Long and Sam Long's not really reacting. But so I was thinking I'd love to see, because we know that Sam Laidlaw is an excellent swimmer, strong biker, rode with Ali Brownlee, but sort of, didn't deliver the runs in Edmonton. So I'm thinking I'd love to see, like, say Sam Laidlaw, Sam Long, and maybe add in Lionel Sanders, because you know that Lionel and Sam, maybe not the best swimmers in the sport. Sam Laidlaw, so excellent swimmer, suddenly have the Sam and Lionel chasing him down, and then it comes together on the run. I think that could be really interesting. I mean, I definitely want to see Christian race Hayden. I think I really, really want to see those two go at it.
Yeah, but who would you put in from Team US in that matchup? I mean, I look at this.
Ben Canute, mate. That's who I put in.
Fine. Ben Canute's a great athlete. But I look at, he would get dominated by both Christian and Hayden, though.
I look at swim, pretty strong bike.
I look at these lineups for the men's, and I see Team Europe and Team Rest of the World in first and second place, and I see Team US as trailing behind. I do not see Team US doing a good job at this race, which was a bit of a switch around, because Team Rest of the World was the last year was the one we were looking at as the. Whereas on the women's side, I see it more as a Team Europe and Team US thing. But obviously, Flora Duffy brings a lot to the party.
Mate,
I'm
Ash Gentle.
I'm so happy to see Hayden and Flora added in as wild cards. I think
Yeah.
they're going to really stoke the fire. But you're right, Ashley Gentle's great. I don't see the team rest of the world on the women's side being as strong as Team USA on the women's side.
I'm looking at it. I'm thinking I want to see Ash Gentle race Kat Matthews because we both know they're excellent runners. That's something I'd really like to see. I mean, Annie Haug, I'd like to see her race Tamara Jewett because they're also excellent runners. I mean, Ellie, it has to be Holly. You can't have those two against each other. And then, I mean, Sarah True, mate, red hot. Sky, excellent. Chelsea Sodaro was very good last year. Yeah, I mean, there's Flora Duffy, mate. There's plenty of there's good names here. I think it really is going to come down to. I think you realize just how important those matchups become because if you get those matchups right, you're going to have some really exciting racing. If you get them wrong, suddenly it just becomes individual time trials, and that's not what we want to see. Like they need to. That's why I was saying like the Sam Laidlaw, Sam Long, Lionel, because you suddenly. I mean, you can't. I mean, who on the? There's no one on that. There's literally no one on that European team who's as bad a swimmer as Sam Long and Lionel Sanders.
No.
So no matter what you do, you're always going to have those guys get ahead. So that's why you sort of need to work out a way that it can actually come together at some point for it to be exciting.
Look, Magnus Ditlev is fantastic, one of the best athletes in the world, but he's probably the weakest swimmer on that Team Europe lineup. Even if you
Patrick.
Yeah, but even if you put either of those two in with Sam Long and Lionel Sanders, they're still going to decimate, aren't they? They're still coming out of the swim way ahead of those other two. So, then you've got the fact that someone like Magnus is strong enough across the other two disciplines to just disappear into the distance.
Yeah, mate. I mean, isn't it interesting we've not mentioned Gustav once? Like again, this is what I find quite funny about it is we've sort of looked at all the other bits. Like again, Gustav, Rudy, and then Aaron Royal. I think that could be quite good. Braden Curry, also excellent runner. Maybe I want to see Braden race Gustav because the way that Braden went out at St George, he did not pace that race very well on the run, but he can run like the clappers when he needs to. Like he dominated last year. So mate, I think there's some good battles here, but I think I am expecting Europe to win, but I think that we could maybe potentially see a team rest of the world upset maybe. I think it's on the cards, but I think we're going to see US in third. But again, I was completely wrong last year too. So who knows, mate? We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, create hype, triathlon ecosystem, watches Collins Cup. But mate, Team Europe is going to dominate. I can't see an upset. I just can't.
Do you think are there any Europeans that you think won't win their race? Maybe that's where we go. Do you look through that list and think there's
Sam Laidlaw maybe, Nicholas Spirig maybe,
Holly Lawrence?
Yeah, possibly Holly Lawrence. Yeah, maybe the two wild cards on the women's side and Sam Laidlaw.
See, I'm going to disagree with you here. I reckon. I mean, I can't see Christian or Gustav really being beaten. I could see Patrick Lang being beaten.
Yeah.
I don't think Magnus is the only concern I have with Magnus is that he's very good at the Ironman. The short, maybe it's a bit short. If Magnus got up against a Hayden, I don't know because Hayden's an exceptional
that would be a cool matchup, wouldn't it? I'd love to see Magnus.
This is what I mean.
Hayden.
This is where the dynamic can shift. I mean, Daniel Beckergaard I think will win. Sam Laidlaw, I'm not sure about. Again, it depends who he races. Daniela, I expect again very good at Ironman, but we haven't seen her have a good short distance race for a very long time. Annie Haug, I think. Maybe Laura Phillip, again, very good at long distance. Kat Matthews, I think, will win. Holly Lawrence, I'm not sure about. Nicholas Spirig, I'm not sure about. So that's what I mean, mate. To me, it's not a foregone. I think last year was like every European's going to win. Like I think every European's going to win. Whereas this year, I look at Lionel Sanders could win, Braden Curry could win, Max Newman could win, Jackson Laundry, if he's on like he was in Oceanside, could win, Aaron Royal could win, Hayden Wild could win, Paula Finlay could win, Ashley Jenner could win, Tamara Jewett could win, Ellie Salthouse could win, Flora Duffy will win. Victoria Lopez could, it's not so clear cut to me this year. That's what I like about it. I like that there is more, but again, Flora Duffy's going to win. I think again, it's funny after we finished recording, I was having a chat with her. And I was like, I said, I'm really excited to see you race 70.3 because I think you're going to dominate. She said, this is the problem though. She goes, I've raced one, it didn't go well, and everybody just assumes I'm going to be good at it. Like, I can't just go in and sort of test the waters. I go in with the weight of expectation on my shoulders. I'm like, you're the Olympic champion. Of course, that's like, welcome to
Who do you think
success.
would push her out of the other two teams? Who, if you wanted to push Flora Duffy as hard as she can be pushed, who would you choose to be racing from Team Europe and Team US?
Or Team US. I'm going to probably go with Chelsea Sodaro just because of how she was. Like, she really surprised me last year. She was very strong on the run. She's had some great results this year. And then I'm thinking, because again, Flora's so well-rounded. She's a good swimmer, excellent biker, and excellent runner. I'm going to go, I mean, the obvious answer I think is Nicola Spirig. But again, I don't know how Nicola is still after the injury. So maybe Anne Haug, just because Anne Haug is very extensive ITU background, good swimmer, pretty good biker, so she'd go with Flora and then can run well as well. So I reckon Anne Haug's probably the one who could push her the most. Again, Kat Matthews, though, has been very good this year too. She's been on such a good trajectory. But, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's funny I don't say Daniela, isn't it? I mean, if Daniela's firing, it'd be Daniela. But we saw her do so well at Ironman, and I guess she's still focused on Ironman. So maybe, again, we also don't know how these athletes are taking this serious because it's paid on appearance, not result. So
I just for optics, I want to see Daniela race Flora.
I'd like it too. It'd be good.
Just because it's something I haven't seen really much, and I'd just like to see that combination. I think that would be cool.
Well, we won't have to wait too long, mate. The race is mere days away. We're going to run a fantasy thing in MX. So if you're hearing this, I'm sure I've already set it up. But yeah, I can't wait. And again, I like it. I'm very curious to see the broadcast. I'm curious to see the lessons they learned from last year. Again, I'm flying when this happens, unfortunately. So I'm going to have to watch the replay. And I've realized that it's actually not going to be easy for me to watch this in Europe because of fucking Eurosport. So that's going to be interesting. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens, Jimbo. Maybe I'll have to get a VPN.
Why is it going to be difficult to watch it?
Because isn't it, you have to have a Eurosport membership to watch it?
Yeah, but just download the app onto your tablet or laptop and pay. It's only $20 or something for a year.
Okay.
So
but I'll only be in Europe for like a week. Anyway, I'll work it out.
I'll give you my sign-in. I'll give you my sign-in. Just don't tell anybody.
Thank you. That's what I was hoping for. There we go.
Yeah,
I was fishing. I was fishing for it. So I'm glad that you picked up the crumbs that I was putting down. James Bale, if you enjoyed the Collins Cup last year and you want to get in on the action, have a community of people to talk the race about while it's happening, you can head to mxendurance.com/podcast, where you can sign up for our podcast membership, get access to our community Discord, Facebook group, all the stuff. Bonus episodes. I'm going to record an episode with Chris next week, maybe two. All sorts of good stuff. Supports us, gets us doing these, gets us to talk about this stuff, helps us keep doing the podcast, all that stuff. I think it's $3.40 a month if you sign up for the year, or $10 a month if you want to go month to month, or just sign up for 1 month, download the 30 odd or 20 odd episodes there are, and then you can cancel if you don't like it. But again, we appreciate it. We appreciate the support, and it helps us to keep doing this podcast that we enjoy doing. But James, if they want to find out other things about MX, what do they do?
If you want to find out more about MX Endurance, head to mxendurance.com or search MX Endurance on Facebook or at MX Endurance on Twitter or Instagram. If you want to follow me, I'm at bale.james85 on Instagram, or you can follow Tim at tford14 on Instagram. Jump onto iTunes, give the show a review. You can do it in the podcast app. Really helps us out. If you like what we're doing, tell a friend, help us grow. And if you've got any comments, suggestions, criticisms, send an email to podcast@mxendurance.com.
James Bale, a pleasure as always. Thanks, guys. We'll be back next week. Talk to you later.
Cheerio.